Thank you. So thank you very much for the opportunity. Hello and salam alaikum to everyone. We're glad to be part of this event. And what I'd like to do is quickly introduce appveen and the platform as part of this pitch competition. A very short introduction, and I won't go into too much detail, but fundamentally, we are a low-code platform with a very high degree of security that allows you to do as a financial institution exactly what Vineet said at the start of the call. How do I interact and consume and exchange data with customers, corporates, partners, probably regulators as well? And I think from a business standpoint, the key driver is with the pandemic and with the whole process towards digitization, we're trying to build a more contactless ecosystem, the heart and soul of which should be how can I easily move data between these organizations seamlessly? So what we typically do is we start with a typical bank infrastructure. You already have your core banking and your product processors. Now, what our platform does, we have a software installed in the cloud. It's called the appveen Data Pipes. It has a bunch of components that I will get into in a little bit of more detail. But the first step when we typically work with a financial institution like yours is we integrate with your product processors. So we have agents that sit within the bank that are responsible for securely moving data from our cloud to the bank and the other way around. And these agents take care of moving the files or the information ultimately to your core banking systems so that the actual movement of money happens. So we set that up and then we wire it together and then it's connected to the cloud. And once it's connected to the cloud, you're ready to go and start bringing on your corporates and other customers that you want to integrate. Now, the typical journey is a corporate comes in and says, I'd like to go and bring in a file, and here is a standard payment file that I'm going to give you. Now, that's a typical paying 001 file. As an example, there are multiple file formats that we support. We quickly represent this file within our system. So we have a way of mapping that file, defining the formats. Once we do that, we do a one-time mapping, which is basically what is the format that the customer sends you the file in, and what is the format that you have it in. Because you in the bank would standardize your file format as well. Now, I'm saying files, but this could also apply to APIs in any real-time communication. Once we do that, we're sorted. The partner is live. The partner is also connected to our cloud. They can connect via traditional SFTP or they can connect through another agent. Now, we encourage the use of the agent because it provides some additional insight like heartbeats. We can do additional levels of security. Now, once they're up and running, it's pretty straightforward and simple. The partner would drop a file. And as part of that, they would basically say, here is a file. It could be an XML file with 100,000 payments, and we want to send it to the bank. The way that would work is the file first off gets compressed, encrypted by our agent. And this is where we have a bit of innovation in how we've done all of this. We don't use traditional file exchange mechanisms. We essentially under the hoods chunk split, compress the file, and we almost stream it into our platform in a very sophisticated manner. That provides better security, but that also provides better ways for us to unpack the file and actually work on it. Now, what does work on it mean? Obviously, we're going to convert it from the format that the customer sends to the format that the bank sends. But you as a bank may have additional requirements where you say, I want to do a bit more than just move the file in a converted fashion. I want to probably validate some of the bank codes. Maybe I want to validate the big code of the Swift code as an instance. So we have all of that within our framework. We can extend the capability of the platform to do a little bit more than purely moving the files and exchanging the data. And we store that reference data within our system as well. And ultimately, when all of this is completed, the file moves to the bank, the transformed file moves to the bank. So you can see that this is really light and all the heavy lifting is done in our cloud. So it's very simple and easy for the bank and for the partner to kind of exchange that data. That's a typical straightforward flow. You as a bank will have access to operational dashboards. So you can do historical trend analysis. You can work with your customers to reprice the way you charge for these files and these payments by looking at historical data. At a more operational level, you may want to go into each and every file transfer and see what actually went wrong. Obviously, there could be some errors, technical errors. You want to troubleshoot, go into detail, figure out what went wrong. And then you can also go and reconstruct that file in case there was some manual processing error and you want to kind of replay all of that. What's unique about our platform, besides the fact that we offer a higher degree of security and we don't work on standard SFTP protocol only, but we also support much more sophisticated ways of doing that. We operate at very high scale. So if you go from multiple partners, we can easily scale the solution out. And we offer a lot of other features which I won't get into because in the
Sorry, Sandil, I have to interrupt you. Sorry.
Anyway,
thank you so much. Yeah, I would like to leave the floor now for the judges for any questions.
Sure. Thanks. So a question now. You mentioned about the platform and it has various file formats that it can be supported.
Yeah.
Have you done any kind of implementation where the trade-related files can be supported?
Not directly trade, but as a format, we support XML, CSV, ISO 20022, delimited. We support a wide variety of formats. So not specifically the trade format is something that we have done, but we can easily extend our platform to support that. Absolutely.
Sindil, what is webhooks?
In case you have a need to do additional processing from our cloud as part of the file movement, for instance, you want to do a name screening and you want to capture the account number and invoke a third-party API, maybe from CBB or maybe from a central government regulatory authority, we have the ability to kind of orchestrate a journey that involves integrating with other APIs beyond just movement of the file and beyond file transmission. So there's a way to kind of hook into the platform and then extend the capability of it.
Okay. And what about the reverse journey? Because you spoke, you will have an agent at the customer side to transfer the file. And suppose bank wants to send a file from their side to customer, so that agent will take care of those things, or you will have to do something at the back end?
No, the same agent takes care of the reverse flow. It's a very common pattern, MT940 or account statements that the bank sends to the customers. They go through the exact same reverse flow. Nothing really changes. Otherwise, no additional software needs to be set up.
Okay. That's it from my side.
Sandil, in the current implementations you have you had any cybersecurity challenges, and how did you manage that?
It's usually when we work with a bank, it's pretty common that they go through a formal AppSec, InfoSec kind of a process to kind of look at the vulnerabilities of the system. There are different approaches. We had multiple reports. We went back and forth, and we nailed down issues in a combination of ways. One of which, obviously, from the get-go, our platform does two-way SSL mutual authentication. Even the files actually move through a HTTPS. They get chunked and they move through a secure channel. So one of the advantages of our platform is we actually don't write the file to the disk except for the first hop and the last hop. So there's lesser residual risk in writing a file on a file system. Besides that, the other challenges that are pretty common are things like unsecured endpoints. And for that, it's a question of working closely with the bank to make sure that the bank's endpoints are opened only to the ones that we require. We actually only require one endpoint, one port, and all of our communication happens on that. So it's common that we do the AppSec process with the bank, but there's nothing glaring that we've kind of had to work on. Inherently, we use two-way SSL, and that solved a lot of our problems.
Thank you.
Sure.
Sandil, you mentioned about the dashboard. Is this for the bank or for the client?
It's for the bank. It can be extended to the client as well. In fact, one of the other things that many customers ask for is the ability to do what we call a reauth. So they initiate the file, but they want a manual step before it even gets sent to the bank, and they want a reauth at the customer level. So if we have to provide customer-facing dashboards, we have a way to bring that. It's an extension of the platform. It's not something I've demoed today, but it's definitely part of our core capability to do that as well. So they do reorg, they do dashboards. We can actually troubleshoot the first level of errors, because perhaps the error is with the file itself and not with the technical exchange. So that doesn't even need to come to the bank. That's something that they themselves can troubleshoot and work on. Right? It saves your operations cost.
And one last question on the support side, because this, especially at the time of implementing, is bank expected to have the technical expertise to implement the file at the client, or is it as a model you provide that capability to the client and to the bank?
It's a model we provide. You'll need to facilitate technical discussions and more of a coordination activity, because ultimately it's your customer, you want to govern the relationship, but we will take care of all the heavy lifting as part of our engagement.
Okay.
I have a question with regards to the validation of the files that is shared. You mentioned in your proposal that there are checksums that you are checking them, and also in your integration gateway, you are also validating there is a business logic or business validation in it. So most probably, are you handling this just through this layer, or are there any different layers that you are validating the files?
So the checksum validation happens as soon as we receive the file in our platform, right? So that we make sure that we fully receive the file, and then the checksum validation happens again when we receive the reverse file from the bank. So that's where the checksum validation really kicks in. Over and above that, there are validations at a data format level. So the big code has a regular expression, the amount has to be a number, things like that, right? So those validations are what we configure and set up. I hope that answered your question, Mohammed.
Yeah, clear. One more thing is about the securing the APIs.
Yeah.
Are you using the APIs tokenization?
JSON Web Token is standard part of API authentication.
Okay.
I have a question from my side. Is your solution PADSS certified or?
No, it's not. It's not PAD certified.